people don't know what I look like until now. Until they start going to the movies. They're gonna see my face. Big deal.
Yo, what's good? OMG Hawk, One Man Gang, back at y'all with another one.
Make change! Make change!
What you want to do?
Y'all know, I hope everyone is well as always. It's been extremely cold up here in the Northeast, so I hope you guys are staying warm. If you're here for the first time, welcome and thank you. And if you back for even a second time, then you already know. The details in today's case are disturbing, and viewer discretion is advised. If disturbing details don't bug you out too much, make sure you hit the subscribe button and I'll keep them coming. But either way, I do appreciate you, so let's get right to it. The events in today's case bring us to the city of Guthrie, Oklahoma. Guthrie is a small city in central Oklahoma considered part of the OKC metro area. Guthrie's home to about 11,000 people. Guthrie has a historic district that people seem to find interesting, and yeah, that's about it. Brent Mack was born here in Guthrie on October 6, 1970. He spent most of his life here with his parents and two brothers, and he was a member of the St. Paul AME Church. He graduated from Guthrie High School, where he was on the basketball and track teams, and besides organized sports at school, he enjoyed fishing and riding horses. He would eventually have 3 kids, a daughter named Rachel and 2 sons, Terrell and Brendan. Now, by fall of 2021, a 50-year-old Brent was a grandfather of 3 still living in Guthrie and had been working as a septic tank installer for the past few years for a local contractor. Now, by all accounts, it was a good life. Brent had a girlfriend he met online about 4 months prior, and the two spoke every day. And although his parents had passed on, he was still surrounded by a loving family, he was healthy, and he had a seemingly good job. Now, on September 20th, Brent stopped responding to calls and texts from family and friends. In fact, nobody had seen or heard from him since that afternoon when he spoke to his girlfriend briefly, telling her he was at a job site and that his phone had bad service. He sent her a text at 12:56 that afternoon that read, "Okay, babe, I'll call you later." This was the last message sent from his phone, and it seemed Brent had just vanished. Now, this was extremely unlike Brent to ghost everybody and just not answer his phone. He was usually in constant contact with his loved ones, and fear and worry would start to set in as they desperately tried to find out where he was. After some days passed with no word from Brent, his daughter Rachel contacted his boss Dan Triplett on Facebook Messenger and asked him about her father. Now, 66-year-old Dan Triplett was also from Guthrie and had previously served as a member of the city council. He was a successful businessman as he founded Mack Backhoe LLC, a company that specialized in septic systems and storm shelters, and Brent had worked here for the past few years. Dan replied back to Rachel, but his response was surprising and left her and the rest of Brent's people with more questions than answers. Dan told Rachel that last time he saw Brent was on September 20th. He said he fired Brent that day, gave him $1,000 as severance pay, and dropped him off at a laundromat on West Cleveland Avenue in Guthrie and hadn't heard from him since. Now, this just didn't sound right to Rachel, but at the time, it was all the family had to go on. Later on, Rachel would notice that Dan deleted the messages he had sent earlier regarding her father. Thankfully, Rachel had taken screenshots of her and Dan's conversation already and took them, along with her suspicions, to the Guthrie Police Department on September 28th, filing a missing persons report. She told investigators about her suspicions of Dan, providing them with the screenshots as well as Brent's call log showing that the last call he made was to his Texas sweetheart on September 20th. Police made contact with her in Texas and confirmed that was the last time she had contact with Brent, and that he indicated he was at work on a job site at the time of the call. Now, police would contact Dan by phone, and he told them that Brent had worked for him on and off for several years. He stated that he wanted to, quote, cut ties with Brent because of his violent demeanor. He claimed he gave Brent that $1,000 severance pay and dropped him off at the laundromat. Dan claimed that Brent exited his truck with his Army-style green duffel bag and told him that he was leaving for Texas to marry his girlfriend. The officer asked Dan if Brent was upset about being fired, and Dan stated that he wasn't upset. The officer asked Dan where the job site was located that day, and he gave them an address on West County Road in Crescent, Oklahoma. Now, the duffel bag that Dan said Brent had when he stepped out the truck was later found in the backyard of a home on the corner of First and Cleveland and Guthrie. The homeowner had went out of town on September 22nd, but says she first noticed the bag in the yard on the 20th. It appeared the bag had been tossed over the fence on the west side of the house. The bag contained Brent's work clothes, and the homeowner showed investigators where she found it. On September 30th, investigators went to the West County Road address in Crescent where Dan claimed to have last worked with Brent. A barn home was being built and fresh septic work was visible on the property. The builder confirmed that he hired Dan to install the home's septic tank, but he told police the job was started on September 7th and had a text message from Dan confirming that the job was completed on September 8th. Now, this last discrepancy was enough for police to bring Dan to the station for a formal interview about Brent's disappearance, but almost a couple weeks would pass before he was brought in for questioning.
This guy doesn't disappear. If anybody knows him, he doesn't disappear like this, so.
It's been over 2 weeks since this man, Brent Mack, was last seen in Guthrie near First Street in Cleveland.
This is so unusual for him to be disappeared this long without a trace, without phone calls, without messaging.
Now police are hoping someone out there knows something.
Brent's children and loved ones turned to the media for help, and a $6,000 reward was put up for any information leading to Brent's whereabouts. Although police did tell the public that foul play was suspected at this time, they withheld their suspicions of Dan and finally got him into Guthrie police on October 13th for an interrogation. Now, according to the probable cause affidavit, when Dan was asked about being in the area where Brent's duffel bag was found, he stated that he had stopped in the area, but only briefly so he could check that the lights on his truck were working properly. He doubled down on his claim that the last job site he had worked at with Brent was at the West County Road address in Crescent that he originally told investigators. Now, police had obtained surveillance footage from September 20th that showed Dan's truck driving by the laundromat but not stopping. The investigators showed him this footage, and when they asked him about where he dropped Brent off, he gave inconsistent statements, changing the drop-off location several times. When investigators highlighted all the inconsistencies in Dan's story, he became noticeably angry and red-faced.
No, he mad right now!
When he was asked about any other jobs he had recently done in the area, he stated he couldn't remember. They asked him if he had records of other job site locations, and he claimed he wasn't sure and that his wife kept those records. Now, by the next day, police would obtain search warrants for those records. They executed the search warrant at his home on South Sudan Road in Guthrie and found a statement book inside his work truck. The book did include a statement dated September 20th, 2021, but the statement indicated that a woman paid Dan $3,400 cash that day when he completed the installation of a septic tank on her property on East County Road 69 in Mulhall, Oklahoma, disputing Dan's claims that him and Brent were working in Crescent that day. Police went out to the house and made contact with the homeowner's brother. They got the homeowner on the phone, and she gave police permission to check the property. The homeowner's brother then showed police where Dan had installed the septic tank and also told police Dan was alone when his sister paid him for the work on September 20th. The following day, police obtained surveillance footage that showed the job site on East County Road in Mulhall, Oklahoma on the day in question. Police said Dan and Brent can be seen on camera arriving at the job site and having what appeared to be a regular day at work. They can be seen unloading pipes off the trailer and placing them into some pre-dug lateral lines. Dan can be seen using a backhoe to move gravel and the two took what appeared to be about a 20-minute lunch break inside the cab of Dan's truck. After the short break, the two got right back to work moving pipes. Nothing in the video indicated any kind of altercation between the men, and things would appear normal until one point in the video, investigators noticed the subject, who appeared to be Brent, working down in the hole where the septic tank was going, while Dan was running the backhoe. He disappears from the camera's view and is not seen in the rest of the footage. Dan could be seen on footage leaving the job site sometime later by himself. On October 21st, 2021, Guthrie Police, along with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and the Oklahoma State Medical Examiner's Office, met at the home on East County Road 69 in Mulhall to remove the septic tank from the ground where Brent Mack was last seen. The dirt was removed from the top of the concrete septic tank, exposing the tank's lid. Dirt was then removed from the sides and the tank was hoisted out to earth. Medical examiners probed the dirt underneath the tank and noticed the unmistakable smell of decomposition. Tragically, at around 1:40 p.m. that afternoon, they had found Brent Mack's remains buried underneath the septic tank. Any question to his identity was quickly answered as he was found with his wallet containing his state ID. He was still wearing his work boots and his work gloves when his remains were transported to the ME's office for examination. At around 6:30 that evening, Dan Triplett was arrested at his home in Guthrie and charged with first-degree murder and desecration of a corpse and booked into Logan County Jail. When the ME performed the autopsy on Brent's remains, they found what they believed to be a bullet inside his chest with an entry wound in his back. As of date, prosecutors have been quiet regarding what the potential motive could be, but most could agree that there's enough physical, circumstantial, and digital evidence to get a first-degree murder conviction without too much of one. Even more reason why what happened next in this case is completely appalling. In early December 2021, the Honorable Judge Susan Worthington gave Dan an early Christmas present, giving him a bond of $500,000. He was ordered to turn over his passport and firearms and agreed to home confinement with GPS monitoring and was only allowed to leave home for certain appointments deemed necessary by the court. Now, the judge's decision was a painful blow to the family trying to grieve Brent's passing amidst the upcoming holiday. Besides her decision being inconsiderate to the victim's family,
I hope Dan rots in hell.
It was also questionable as bond being granted in first-degree murder cases is virtually unheard of. Now, bond by definition is a payment made to the court as incentive to return to face your charges, aka skip court, lose your money. Now, considering most first-degree murder convictions come with a life sentence, it's reasonable to assume that any amount of money, regardless of how much it is, would be worth losing if it comes to gaining your freedom. Makes sense. Now, Judge Susan wasn't concerned because she felt that Dan was an outstanding member of the community and felt bond was okay in this case. Now, it's worth mentioning that at the same time, 3 other individuals sat in Logan County Jail on first-degree murder charges, and all 3 were denied bond by Judge Susan. What I found more disturbing than the bail offer was the bail amount. $500,000 might seem like a lot, and it is, but not really when it comes to the high multi-million-dollar bails we would normally see and would expect if there was to be one at all for such a heinous crime. I speculate that $500,000 wasn't unreasonable, considering that even if he didn't have $50,000 cash to give a bail bondsman, his house alone was worth $300,000, and with the heavy equipment and other assets which could be used as collateral, it was easy as having his lawyer make a few calls and he's back home with plenty of resources to evade the courts if he really wanted to. Now, Dan was granted bond on December 7th and released from custody the next day. He was tethered with an ankle monitor and was only allowed to leave home for doctor's appointments, to see his attorney, and court dates. Fortunately for Brent's family, Dan's house arrest stint wouldn't last long as his bail was revoked on January 14th, 2022. It seems in efforts to prove how much of a pompous ass he truly is, Dan was recognized by a bank teller as he used the bank's drive-thru window. She was aware of his case and reported the sighting, prompting the prosecutor to order the records for his ankle monitor. The records revealed that he did go to the bank on January 4th, as well as a convenience store, and a couple weeks prior to that, he was at a local Waffle House, and I'm assuming he wasn't having a legal meeting over food with his lawyer, because these outings were enough to have Judge Susan revoke the bond and send Dan Triplett back to Logan County Jail to await trial where he is now. He is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We're gonna have to wait and see how this one plays out in court. Yeah, man, rest in peace first and foremost to Brent Mack. If he was murdered on September 20th, that was just a little more than 2 weeks away from his 51st birthday. And my sincere condolences to his children, family, and friends as well. He was a great-hearted man by all accounts, and I could tell he will truly be missed by his people. You know, I personally hate the way he was murdered. Not even just the fact that he was shot in the back, which is a cowardly act in itself, and not the fact that he was buried underneath a damn septic tank, but the fact that he lost his life wearing work boots and work gloves while busting his ass, working a job for someone who didn't even have the respect for him as a man to look him in the face when he took him out. I mean, just thinking personally, as someone who goes to work daily and gets it off my back and with my hands, if anyone ever wants to take me out, I hope you don't do it while I'm working, because I'll be mad as fuck if I die in a work uniform. Straight up. That part just pisses me off, man. Brent didn't deserve that. The fact that Judge Susan Worthington even granted Dan a bond initially is something that's not sitting well with me at all. I personally feel that because a bond that low for first-degree murder is so uncommon, that she had to assume that at some point that decision would be heavily scrutinized, and I feel like she just didn't care because at the end of the day, the final ruling is hers and hers only. Although I can't say for certain her bias was racially motivated, I would definitely speculate some sort of classism was involved. You know, Brent's family started a petition on change.org to have Susan Worthington disbarred and removed from the judge seat. I personally don't think she should be a judge, but I'm not sure if her biased ruling would be enough to have her removed. At minimum, I would hope that more eyes would be on her future rulings and more scrutiny would be put on her previous decisions. I feel like that's definitely warranted. You know, I also hope that with the national spotlight on this case, Brent Mack's family won't have to endure any more injustices from the Logan County Court.
Really, I hope he dies there. Thank you.
Most importantly, I hope the family could get all the justice that the legal system will allow them. You know, the family's attorney made a statement after Dan's bond was revoked where he said,
I think what you're going to see, what you saw here was a man who had an opportunity to get privilege. He was given a bond based upon a privilege of who he was. And yet he's so arrogant, he couldn't even adhere to those rules because he believes he can do anything and get away with it. He believed he could kill Mr. Mack because he thought he was a nobody.
Talk to this nigga! Talk to this nigga, man!
and I wholeheartedly believe that. Judge Susan stained her reputation to help Dan out, only for Dan to repay the favor by making them both look terrible because he wanted some waffles. Well, now Dan could sit and await his fate like a real inmate, like he should have been on Christmas and New Year's. I'll definitely do an update video when the trial is over. Shit, maybe sooner if any more fuck shit happens regarding the case, but if you're still here, I do appreciate you. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stay well and stay safe until next time. OMG.